matters. People could say whatever they want to about, oh, the yards need to be this guy needs to catch this much, this guy needs to run. No, all that matters is find a way to win. And that is the reality of football, is finding a way to win. You have to find a way to win. If you find a way to win, everything else will work itself out. Period. There's nothing else you need, because wins do it all. So that the best part about us being 8-0 is that we ain't played our best game. Not even close. Haven't put together a good, solid. Now, I will say the defense has been rock solid. I mean, you couldn't ask anymore. They don't give up more than 17 points a game. And if you do that in the NFL, you're going to win anyway. So that's rock solid. But the offense hasn't played a consistent good game. Pat still hadn't thrown for 300 yards. We've had a couple 100-yard rushers here and there, but it's not glamorous. And that's the thing that I can't understand about anyone else that's talking about this team, that these guys haven't played their best ball and they're 8-0.
And that's scary.
That's terrifying. Because what happens when they get, they got what it takes. Right. They get a rhythm. They get flowing. When they really turn it on, shoot. Well, that's why on the coin toss that what's his name? He knew. It was like, oh hell, they get the ball. Well, I ain't getting a chance.
Yeah, Baker knew it was all over at that coin toss. That's right. That's right.
So, yeah, that's the greatest part about where we are, is that we ain't even played the best football yet. There has not been a solid team game. But what happens is whoever needs to win finds a way to win. So it's either offense, defense, or special team, and we found a way to win each time. What happens when offense is at 8 cylinders, firing at full blast, and the defense shutting them down? Boy, it's going to be ugly. So we're in a great spot.
And those two quarterbacks, they know each other. That Baker Mayfield was at Texas Tech with Kingsbury before Mahomes was, and actually gave Mahomes his college tour. And then when they settled with Mahomes, going, okay, we're going to keep the kid, we're going to scholarship him. Off goes Baker up to Norman, and they played each other twice in college, which Mayfield won both of those games with Oklahoma. However, when Patrick started being the quarterback after taking over for Alex Smith, Baker hasn't beaten Patrick in Kansas City as a Kansas City Chief. So what we know is that these two gentlemen know each other really well. And just getting back to his grief when that coin flip happened, he called the wrong one, as well as the fact that he knew, giving up the ball like that, these guys are going to come down and score, and we're not going to get a chance. Yeah. And there's a lot of talk about the fact that, well, shouldn't both teams get a chance to score? And the reality is this is the National Football League.
That's right.
And the longer you've got these guys on the field, you are going to open them up to injury. So the NFL, just like on a kickoff, has decided we're going to make sure that we can keep our product, because that, and you don't like talking about guys like that, but we're going to keep our product as healthy as we can. And that means we're not going to try to play them 15 minutes into overtime after they've already gone 3.5 hours.
The funny part is that all these considerations come up because the Chiefs win. So now they got now we got to reevaluate how we're doing overtime because the Chiefs won again, and we don't like that. So we got to reevaluate it again. Right. That's what happens when you're the front runner, boy. They just always try to tear you apart any way they can.
Always. Any way they can.
You're talking about a one-legged quarterback right now in Kansas City. You saw it. I saw it late in the game. He tweaked that ankle again, and so he's going through rehab and therapy this week. And it's going to take a little while before Patrick is 100. But once he gets to be 100, I think that's when Steve's,
Well,
prophecy of the 300-yard passing games come up again.
well,
So,
the thing is I know I could tell when he did it is a second degree ankle sprain because I've had like 40 of them. So like
Yeah.
the first degree is just a little twist. The second degree is that, and it comes right back, and then the third is just completely froze.
yeah,
But I saw
yeah,
that, I was like, man, it's the worst ankle injury because you can play with it, but it's like when you hit it just right, man, it feels like you broke it.
Yeah.
And
the only one with a broken heart in that stadium that night was Carson Wentz. He thought
Yeah.
he started throwing the football. They said, "Hey,
started warming up.
you're the-
Oh, don't worry about it. Put it down.
he'll be all right. He'll be all right."
You're good. You're good.
I don't know if did you guys watch the documentary, The Quarterbacks?
I haven't seen it.
The Netflix thing with the quarterbacks?
Right.
When you watch that and you see, that's when he hurt his ankle in Jacksonville,
Okay.
and in the playoffs. And when he was throwing the fit on the sideline, he wasn't coming out of the game. And so when I saw him do that the other night, and when I saw that by the time he started needing help to get off the field, before he got all the way off the field, he was already walking on it. I'm like,
that's what I'm saying. It's a second degree sprain. I had 30 of the damn things, and I promise you, man, you go up and down the sideline, you try to run, man, I'm feeling good. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. And then you take that one wrong twist, and it's like,
right.
Like,
that initial pop is one that scares you. And I know it scared him. It
feels like it's broke. I promise you. But I've seen it. And I know what that is. If it springs back, then it didn't tear all the way. It just is partial tear. So it tore enough, and it only hurts in certain positions. But when you start running, and again, football, you get in those awkward angles, and man, you're guaranteed to get there. And when you hit it, boy, it's gonna hurt like a sunbuck.
You can hear people breathing in the stadium over.
That collective sigh, like, hey. There's no atheists in Foxholes. There were no atheists in Arrowhead that night when that happened. Hey, oh Lord,
God.
That was a real prayer. That was a 75,000 people prayer. Like, please,
all at once, right?
Come on, and rightly so. I mean, as the Chiefs go, Pat Mahomes goes. He is their leader, and you also saw that when he jogged. After he got to the sidelines and jogged, that stadium erupted like something had happened.
Yeah.
Okay. And really all it was is the fact, hey, we don't have to see Carson Pat's coming back. So,
I don't doubt Carson can hold us up for a quarter or two. I don't doubt that. He
can. He can.
For a game or two.
Absolutely.
We don't want to find out.
No, we don't.
Right. I always tell people if Bernie Kosar could rest Troy Aikman back in the early 90s after 19 seasons, I think that Carson Wentz is going to be all right. You know what I mean? And Bernie Kosar, I don't know if you guys remember, he never threw a ball overhanded. It was always sidearm. That was the way that, Bernie rolled. And, catching him, that wasn't very hard either because they could time his 40 with a calendar. You know what I mean? So
with a sundial.
That's exactly right.
That's exactly right. It's sundial. That's what my coach used to always tell us, man. You're on the sundial timer, baby. Sounds good though. But not only that injury, but we talk about the game itself. I love seeing D-Hop come alive, man.
Come on.
Woo.
Yes.
And my two things about D-Hop is that if you can just throw the ball in his vicinity, he is catching that thing. Do you hear me?
Lights out.
And he's a consummate pro. I loved his initial interview. Not a lot of words, no glamour, no look at me, no diva-ish. He just does his job and goes home, and that's the type of dude he seemed like he is, man. I love it.
That's one of the reasons why I couldn't believe that they let him out of Arizona. Because, now who's Kyler throwing to? And the fact is you have a quintessential pro, a consummate pro. Yes. He was that way in Houston. He's been that way in Arizona, and he's not only. I mean, he's not only complimentary. You saw him; he caught 2 scores the other night.
Yeah.
You know, so
And I even liked
he
his the touchdown dance. Remember the Titans
Yeah.
thing? Because
yeah,
it was a tribute. It really was. He was really
Right.
shouting out the Titans in Nashville. And like, I appreciate you guys. I got my first score in Kansas City, so we can really turn the page. And I'm gonna give
Right.
you this shout out. And we moving forward. I love it, man. I'm so excited.
Well, the thing is that again, people just throw people away. You don't understand. You are not going and getting another D Hop.
No.
It's his own receiver. Every
Yeah.
one of these guys is unique in their own way. And the thing is this guy has the talent and the ability. He knows where he's at. He already got his bag. He's good.
Oh
He
yeah.
wants rings.
that's right.
Legacy.
That's right.
He wants to be in the books. He wants a gold jacket. That's what he wants. I mean, he's not here. He's not going to cry over not getting another 50 million. He's 30 plus years old. He knows he's
Right.
good, but y'all couldn't have put him in a better place. And if I'm him, I'm studying every night to make sure I'm
Right.
ready to run these routes. Because
Right now he's going to get ice for Pat Mahomes, so that ankle's all nice. He's like, "Hey, I got 3 bags of ice for you, bro. We'll hook you up." You know.
look at
No
the
doubt,
team.
man.
They are going to be so explosive. We get Pacheco back. We get
That's
Rice
kind of where
going.
I was going next was Kareem again, man.
Yeah.
27
Hey.
carries.
You got
over
2
100
backs.
yards, man. Like,
Who else got 2 backs?
oh,
Detroit.
you can't. Oh my God, man.
We got 2 backs like they got 2 backs.
Yeah.
And 2 completely different. Pacheco's got that
Totally
extra gear.
Yes, he
Kareem,
does.
you saw what he did the other night in goal line. Hey,
is being
he can
corporate.
still move the pile. He can
He is
still
being
move the pile.
He don't like a lot of spicy shit. He wants it.
No,
Give it to me.
no,
plain.
he ain't giving you that dip. He's saying, "Listen, it's you and me, baby, and it's gonna be head up, just like 2
The
Rams."
linebacker better have the big old school neck roll. You better have it
He looks like that dude.
because I'm
But
coming.
you know what? I like a little bit because if you really are watching, he does give you that slide to the side sometimes.
But that's his
He'll
style.
He does.
slip by you.
Yeah.
He's not really putting his head down necessarily, always trying to run you over.
He's like contoured for this kind of football. Like this was because again going back because when he got here, that's what they were doing.
right.
They were running this style, so he fits right in.
It's right.
You know, Pacheco gives you that extra gear,
He's
and
a
again,
Like a ping pong ball.
the thing that Reed has got with all these guys is everybody's understanding and accepting their role. They are not
That's right.
trying to be. Hop's not coming here trying to be the number 1 receiver. If he winds up being the number 1 receiver, I'm sure he'll do the job.
Right.
But he's like,
Right.
you know, I'm 30 plus. I can be role player. Just bring me in on 3rd down. I'm cool.
Nah.
I mean, you got guys
Right.
like if you buy it, I can't. I played on 9 teams. I don't know of any one where other than New England where everybody was bought in on what the head coach was selling.
Right.
Every other team I was
Right.
on, you had at least 2 or 3 mercenaries, and it's nothing against them. But shit, I was one for the majority of my career because I got to survive.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not going to just go in here and just take on double teams and not make plays. I'm going to make plays.
Right.
So,
right.
you know, if you wanted the linebackers to make all the plays, I'm going to do my job. I'm going to make a play.
I'm gonna get a couple of them.
But everybody here at the Chiefs, everybody is just bought in. Everybody's a role player. Everybody's
That's right.
job, and that's why they have the success they're having. And they're doing shit that nobody else is doing. They're playing for 4 minutes. They are playing the 4-minute game. We have to win the game in the last 4 minutes, and that's what they have done in all 8 games. They win the 4 minutes.
And just getting back to Kareem a little bit, you're watching every week him get more and more comfortable. Now, some of the announcers there at the game, they were talking about how he used to roll off 50, 40-yard gains at a time. Well, I was watching him go 12, 15 yards the other night, and I was thinking, that ain't bad for a man with 6, 7 years under his belt. You know, I mean, there's already a little tread off the tire. So
Four. You know what I mean? Because I only need 3 first down. Like, what are we
right.
talking, bro? Like,
Because the best defense is an offense that sucks the oxygen off of the field.
Demoralizing, man. When somebody's running the ball down your throat.
That last drive was like a slow knife going in their chest.
It was.
That had to hurt. Because it's like, we can't stop them, and they just
cannot stop them.
And we weren't talking about outside C gap, off the wide receiver.
No.
He was A-B gap slashing, and when you could do that every down,
1 and 2,
it'll kill you.
D coordinator, because all the D coordinator wants to know is I can run in the A gaps. Because if you can run in the A gaps, I can run it anywhere.
That's right.
Anywhere.
I can run anywhere. So yeah.
And you were just talking about the lack of mercenaries. Nagy actually talked about last week, and when he said that the greatest thing that he's found about this team is not comes to him, coach, give me the ball more. Like, just want to win trophies.
Yeah.
So if I get one target for 17 yards and it helps us win, nobody ever to me. There's none of that in this locker room, and it's such a beautiful thing to know that the cohesiveness, the culture that Andy and them have built, that this team is truly prepared to repeat, in my opinion. Truly prepared. If they can find a way to stay healthy, I don't see how you beat them. As since Minnie Hughes about to come back, like you said, Pacheco will be back. We actually get Hollywood back by the playoff time. Like, Mike still out. Like, this team is actually going to get better just getting guys off injury reserve list. This is
so that was a Belichick thing when he went on his run. What his philosophy was is I need to play all 53 men on this roster. Because if I play all 53 men, that's going to keep every guy healthy. And by the time we're going to playoffs, I'm not putting in somebody who's never touched the field, who ain't seen the field in 7 weeks. So it was a brilliant philosophy in making sure that you play everybody so that by the time you're in the second season, your starters don't have to come out until they have to come out. Because the legs are gone by week 17, I don't give a shit who you are, because it's a hard season to keep your legs, and when the legs are gone, it's all guts and glory after that. And so all the playoff games, that's what they are. That week off, it's a blessing and a curse. Sometimes it helps you, man, getting that break off, but other times, the other team's so hungry. They'll use that week and be like, yeah, we was killing them last week. We're going to kill them again this week. By the time you get to the championship, I mean, you're on fumes, and nobody's ever going to say it, but you're on fumes because it's all guts. It's all guts because you to perform at that level, you got to be giving it everything you got. So yeah, it's amazing. I'm probably more intrigued on what we're going to look like the second half of the season, just because, injuries, we get these people back. Pacheco's going to want to run the ball. So what?
Yeah.
Kareem can rest now. He's like, I can get a break. And you think of it like that, and then Hollywood's going to want his yards. So now you can give Kelsey a break. You know what I'm saying? You can go to other people and give guys break during the game, so everybody's fresh come the playoffs. Man, it's an unbelievable. This may be an undefeated team because I don't see anybody on the rest of the record who could beat them if they're healthy. Who can beat them? Even if they're not healthy.
There is one in-season rival that they have not played yet this year. Both either at Denver or at Terrorhead, and that is the Denver Broncos. And the one thing about this AFC West, I think that San Diego might be a year or two away, but the reality is, you got Denver.
They'll always
Denver,
be San Diego too, Rev. I don't care if they move
you know that's right.
I don't see Diego, and they're going to be good. I'm not going to take anything from them. We just know them first and foremost, and for Denver, not that again, I always respect rivalries, trust and believe that, but the thing that they showed their hand against Baltimore, and you got to get after May. If May cannot stand still and get that read, he's toast. So, and we got a front, we can win with the 4. If you rush 5, he's under duress. So
there's been a little turmoil in Denver too with the quarterback and the head coach. We've seen it on the sideline, and that's not to say that doesn't happen with every team, because it does. But at many points of the game, they don't show that and make it a point of talking about it. I mean, Steve and I, we've been in the locker room at halftime. We've seen some things kind of break out. And by breaking out, I mean you might have 3-4 O linemen go after a D lineman, tell them, "Listen, man, you better start doing your job, or you're going to talk to us," and vice versa. I mean, it is what it is.
You sitting on a 3-13 team, that happens a lot.
You also see see coaches and players get after it.
Oh yeah,
and it's also one of the reasons why when we talk, in the offseason, you're like, I can't believe so and so got traded to this team. And it's like, well, you weren't there in week 15 when they were at each other's throat and one of them got socked in the eye. That nobody talks about that stuff, and most of the time we're not even supposed to talk about it. So that's locked.
We don't know
what happens. That's right.
We don't know everything that's behind that story either, because I know quite a few stories of some real bad locker room fights. That clearly some shit that happened that was not in the building. So
that's right. I've seen coaches go at it, as well as the fact that I had a close relationship with one where he would instinctively look over and say, "Watch this," and then go make one of the coaches cry.
Okay, so you're talking about that.
You know who I'm talking about. Yeah, we ain't gonna tell his name, but when that happens, there's some animosity. Now, what's crazy is they coached later in life together again, which is something that you never usually see. I think one of the distant relationships of what happens this late in the year is you will see the galvanization of locker rooms and you will see the splitting of locker rooms about this time. And I can tell you, there is no amount of winning, okay, when a locker room, when the players, because this is a players' league, I don't care what anybody says, coaches coach and players play. And when the players say, we aren't playing for them anymore, you can see which teams are now doing that. It's over, okay? Doesn't matter what the record is. They will say, hey, I'm going to hold out because I'm not going to get injured for this fool, okay? I mean, it's just not going to happen. I got money on the table, and I could go to XYZ team and play with them next year, and I don't have to worry about this garbage back here. And heard about it. I mean, I've seen the locker room split. I've even been in the meeting when the locker room, they held these are my favorite. When you hear players only meeting, that's usually rubber hitting road right there.
Well, that's when you get the calling out. Hey, bro, I know you got that contract, but you need to fucking play.
Yeah,
that's right.
There's a lot of money on the table, Chief, and we ain't letting this shit. If it ain't gonna be you, let the goo behind you do it. Just quit fucking us up, because we all trying to do this. What amazes me, and I guess you're gonna go to the subject, but like Dallas, they're not out. And what's amazing to me is they're buying into the media bullshit. Everybody's just talking shit. It's like, yo, y'all was for the most part at the same position last year. You lose one game,
and the year before, and the year before, and the year before.
But I will say this: Jerry's the X factor, and he needs to sell the team. because he is terrible.
He could just step away. I think if he just stepped
Yeah.
away, hire a real general
He
manager.
felt him give him away. Step back, don't be general manager no more. I honestly think it's just him.
Big
Because
Jacks, we would have seen a dynasty of Dallas of 6 or 7 Super Bowls in the 90s had the man done what you just said, which was let Jimmy run the team. All of that trade with Herschel Walker in Minnesota for those 12 guys, that was genius. Okay, except for Minnesota. Mike Lynn, I don't know what you were thinking. God rest him; he's now in heaven. But the reality is Jimmy Johnson created that team, and Barry Switzer has a ring from 1995 that was based on the fact that was Jimmy's team. And I believe that you're not going to see Jerry Jones step away because his ego is too big.
Exactly.
And when your ego gets in the way, hey, they haven't won a playoff game since the 90s, and they haven't won a Super Bowl since 1995.
Right.
There's a reason for that.
Proof's in the pudding. Once again, guys, you are inside the Locker Room Show. My man Martin, my guy Rev, two guys that have been in these NFL locker rooms that can tell you about what's going on. And that's why we're here, because we love getting a chance to talk about that. And, of course, we already talked a lot about the Chiefs. We can talk even more about what's going on, some of the rest of the teams around the NFL. The team de jour of the week right now is the Lions, of course. Everybody loves how well their offense is playing. Everybody loves Dan Campbell. Everybody thinks they're the biggest threat to the Chiefs. Like, that's this week, hopefully. But, of course, they are playing very well right now, and I believe Campbell really has them going, and they are a very good team. Very talented.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve, and I'll follow.
Dan Campbell's old school, and so everybody's old school downhill. And when I say old school, ISO, lead, dive, power, that's old, because you running that stuff requires a fullback. So he's old school, and he's hitting people dead in the teeth. And if you out here with these 5 wides and trying to do all this razzle dazzle stuff, you're gonna get your butt whooped, because he's coming at you with 2 pieces of chicken, hot and spicy, right down the middle. If you ain't ready for it, you about to get it. So, and I think that what's happening is, like, a guy like me probably wouldn't be able to play right now because I'm big, but I ain't super fast. My day, you had to be able to 2-gap, you had to be able to shut down, take on double teams, be able to take that fullback on, and still make the play. And it required a toughness that a lot of these guys don't have anymore, because they're all pass rushers. I'm not begrudging them for being great pass rushers, by no means. But, when you put a dynamic out there that, you got to not only stop the run, you got to stop the pass too, bro. So, you being a pass rusher is fantastic. But if you can't stop this run, boy, and they are the antithesis of this. And so they don't have a magical game plan. I think their play action is magnificent, because they're able to run. Because they can run, and they got 2 backs that can run the hell out of the ball, which opens the play action, which makes you just absolutely vicious when it comes to coordinating. So it makes it really, really hard on the D coordinator, and they can bully the linebackers, they can bully the safeties, they can bully them in any of these different concepts, which they do, and they are a hell of a contender. Can they be deadly to the Chiefs? They're not where the Chiefs are yet. The Chiefs are winning 4-minute. That's past trying to figure out who we are, how we move the ball. They're past that. The Detroit Lions are fully establishing this is how we move the ball. They're not in let's win 4-minute. The Chiefs are, and nobody else is there. And when you're the only one there writing the script, you can make some great shit up. And that's what the Chiefs have done this whole time. So they absolutely can't wait to see that game. It'll be the Super Bowl, but I can't wait to see it because it'll be a great game.
And the thing about Dan Campbell is he loves 4th down. He is the head coach that has done the most at 4th down this year. And you saw it on Sunday. There was a 4th and goal, and everybody's like, it's the first quarter, and what we usually say, and we've heard the old adage, especially when you're on the road, is you go get points in the first half, and then you take your chances in the second half. Not Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell's going for 4th down, and they converted into a touchdown. These are the things that make teams not only galvanize, and I probably use that word too much, but there's a subtle confidence in the fact that whatever my coach calls, we're going to be able to execute it. And when players start to get behind that, now you've got this momentum thing that starts to pulsate. And you're talking about we're talking about the Detroit Motor City Kitties. Okay. We're talking about Detroit. And no longer, I mean, no longer are we're not talking about Chicago. We're not talking about Green Bay. We're not talking about Minnesota. We're talking about Detroit. When was the last time we said Detroit had a running game? Barry Sanders. Okay.
Man.
And before him, it was Billy Sims. When was the last time they had 1,000-yard receiver? Well, it was Megatron, and before that, it was Herman Moore and Johnny Morton. So we're talking about the fact that when, and now they've got a defense that's complimentary because Vincey Glenn, he bringing it. Okay, Vincey Glenn in his day he was a one-on-one. I'm sorry, what?
Aaron Glenn.
I'm sorry, did I call him Vincey? Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn was a one-on-one
I played with
corner.
New York.
And the idea is that he's brought that attitude where if you could start playing man-to-man coverage, that sets up your secondary, your safeties. You could blitz them, you could drop them into coverage. What does that create? It creates turnovers. Okay, and with that, I think that's where we're seeing the Lions. I think we'd be remiss, gentlemen, if we didn't talk about Washington and Philadelphia.
Absolutely.
And hey, I don't know what got into Saquon Barkley, where he got into the jumping beans last week. But this man is doing, like I said, and I've harped about it a couple of weeks where I said Wellington Mara has got to be looking at Dable, the head coach, and going, why did we trade this kid? Well, last week, if you look at what the sidelines, and I've watched that play, a couple dozen times now. First of all, I've never seen that happen. And I've been on the field watching Michael Vick put 270 up against us in 2000. I believe it was 2 or 3 in the Metrodome. And I thought that was one of the most incredible athletic feats ever. And then I see this kid literally jump backwards over a linebacker, and his whole sideline goes up like, what did we just see? It's those kind of plays. It's that kind of confidence and athleticism that really begins to, like I said, build so that you're not only building confidence, but this continuity where we could give Saquon the ball and he'll run it backwards and still get 2-3 yards. Okay. I mean, who else is doing that? I mean, he's moonwalking like Michael Jackson and then throwing in a little hop step. I mean, no, I've never seen that done in the 25 years I've been around.
Mark, what I'm saying right now, that is the greatest football play in NFL history. Wow. Because nobody could script it. You couldn't draw it on a paper. You could not coach him and tell him to do that. That is just one athlete knowing where he's at, being that aware of his surroundings, and making magic happen. You will never, I don't know when I say that, I have never seen, and I saw Randy with that immaculate catch against Green Bay. That was the most amazing play I've seen until I saw Saquon jump over somebody backwards. That was literally took the crown from Randy for the greatest NFL play.
And, it's funny because he kind of led the march of running backs trying to get paid last year, 2 years ago.
Right.
And he was the one that kept saying, I'm worth the money. I'm worth the money. When most saying, we don't really want to pay a running back like that. He is truly worth the money, and he is proving it right now. What he's doing this season is absolutely phenomenal. And like you said, that has allowed Philly to really tender because they got Jalen Hurts who can play, and that offensive line can still play. Like that was just in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So you better watch out for them. And then you got on the other end, you got the up and coming team with the Commanders and this rookie quarterback. Like, it's just incredible to see what they're consistently winning right now too,
Yeah, so the Commanders, they built good defenses. They just ain't had a quarterback worth of shit.
Right.
Now they got a good quarterback. The defense is still kind of it's in the middle there. They got to do some things to beef up the defense. They probably need one more offensive lineman. I would say a good 7 so they could have depth. And they should be good to go. They got receivers, they got a running back, and the quarterback's playing out of his world. So they'll be a contender for sure in the next couple of years. That division could be tough, but New York is just terrible.
Terrible. Dallas is terrible.
Well, see, in Dallas ain't out. They're just
not good though.
They're listening to all the noise. And it's now becoming a distraction. If they go into this next game, they could be out.
Losing does that to you, though.
Yeah, but
absolutely, it's like a cancer. It just continues to grow if you can't remedy it.
Yeah. But that's the thing is that when you really are about the game, what you do is the locker room is strong because it's peaks and valleys. If you got to play, 4 top-ranked teams and they're on fire, it's going to be hard to get those wins. And you got to stay together as a crew because, again, all you want to be is 500 by December. The old heads know this. The coaches that are there should be telling the players, we just need to be 500 by December. That's all we got to do because you can't lose more than 7 because when you lose more than 7, there's no hope. Right. But you want to at least be 500. And how many times has a team lost 4 in a row and then went on a 6-7 game winning streak? It happens.
Right.
And that's the thing is that you can't lose that. But Dallas really got the talent, but they don't want to. They're buying it.
If you putting Dak on the IR though, he's out for 4 games. You're back. It
doesn't matter.
Sitting at 3 and 5, like
people don't understand that. Again, the emphasis is always on the quarterback. Look at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh they got lucky when they got a Ben Roethlisberger, but for the 400 years they've existed, they ain't had a good quarterback except if it was Terry Bradshaw and then Ben Roethlisberger. All of those quarterbacks in the middle were just substitutes to just hold the fort, to move the ball down the field. They win on defense.
Yeah, that's how they win. They don't win Super Bowls without top-notch quarterbacks. Like, Roethlisberger.
They won one with Neil O'Donnell.
They lost one with Neil O'Donnell. Yeah,
I thought they won one with Neil O'Donnell. They lost one and won.
No, they lost it in '95 because he threw to Larry Brown like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I mean, it just, especially in today's NFL, like that's why I laugh at these teams with Daniel. What's your guy in Minnesota?
Darnold.
There's no way this guy's going to win a Super Bowl, man. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. It's not in today's NFL.
You got Jefferson. Say, pause that right there. You got Jefferson. That boy catches everything.
I looked at Baker the other night, and Baker I thought played very well against the Chiefs.
Yeah,
they played great against the Chiefs the other night. Yeah, actually out of his left pocket. Yeah.
Yeah, he played a great game. But I'm saying is that
what was Cleveland even thinking getting rid of that dude?
Well, that's the point. This is the point that people they throw away guys way too soon because they're looking for this. They got this unrealistic expectation. about
right.
what a player can get done, and it's chemistry. You cannot make these people do what they do. They are special people. You have to take that special talent and match that special talent with other special talent. And once you got that mix, they have to meld and they have to feel one another. Once they feel one another, then you start producing. But sometimes that happens quickly. Sometimes that takes
Well,
a whole
you've
season.
been around. You've been around teams. I've been around teams where they throw that first year quarterback out and they ruin them.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, in many cases, they ruin him because not only doesn't he have a good mentor, but that coach, that quarterback coach or that offensive coordinator may be a great play caller, but may not be a great teacher. Okay, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of complementary things that have to happen in order to get these guys ready to go on Sunday. You can have great motivators who can't call plays. You can have great play callers who can't teach the position. And this is where, getting back to even the Chiefs, I mean, excuse me, Matt Nagy's got to be happy. He's no longer dealing with Trubisky and some of the cats in Chicago,
Yeah.
but he doesn't even have to call plays. He gives
Right.
suggestions to
Right.
Andy during the week. Okay. Not only that, but he's over there probably having a hot dog with Carson Wentz going, you got the second best job on the team. And I know Carson is saying, wait a second, the backup quarterback's job is the best job on the team. He's like,
Right.
not today, because I don't even have to call plays as the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So, when you talk about the ways in which, teams orchestrate and how they work, the one thing that you're starting to see is the separation. You're starting to see the Washingtons and the Phillies, and you know what? I grew up a Dallas Cowboy fan. I could tell you all the way back before Staubach to Craig Morton. But the reality is this: until they get a general manager, they're nothing but a second-rate ball club.
Yeah.
And the reason is because they need a second set of eyes to tell the ownership as well as the coaching staff, this is how you evaluate talent. Okay.
Mhm.
Willie McRae is their scouting guru. Well, Willie's been there for 20, 25 years. That isn't going to change. So what needs to change in Dallas? What needs to change in New York, in the NFC East? The reality is this: whatever they're doing in Washington and whatever they're doing in Philadelphia is working in the first and second and third years of these guys. Sereno, when Doug Peterson left, he takes over. Ron Rivera leaves. We got Dan. Dan Quinn was in Dallas last year, so let's not forget that. And they looked over the man, and don't think he doesn't have a chip on his shoulder when they play Dallas again. Okay, and plus it's the old, while they are called the Commanders, they'll always be the Redskins to me. And it is the Redskins and the Cowboys. And that rivalry, hey, John Riggins, the Diesel, used to make me cry, okay? Because, and Art Monk and Charlie Brown,
Art Monk, I'll never forget that one.
and Mark Mosley with those single, you'd think, this guy can't kick. And he wins NFL Player of the Year one year. These are the things that happen in the East. And we talk about Philly like this. If you're going to play Philly and beat them, you want to play them early. Because late in the year, they get snowballs up in that stadium. And I'm telling you what, when you have the reputation of booing Santa Claus,
right?
Let's just say that they're in the holiday spirit from the time the first snowflake drops until the end of the football season. Okay,
Right.
And nobody, people ask all the time, which teams travel the best late in the year? I've always said this: Green Bay travels, their fan club travels great late in the year. You've got the Philadelphia Eagles that will travel so good together that if they win a playoff game, and I've heard them in the Metrodome, they start singing the Philadelphia Eagles EAGLES. They start singing the song, okay?
Yeah.
And the other one is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Those three teams, if you don't watch out, they will buy up all your tickets.
Well, we'll get
And
a
it'll
chance
be
to see what the Steelers fans here later on in the year.
that's right.
That's going to be a big game, and another one of those situations where a guy like Russ, when you let Russ go out there and cook as a top, one of the top quarterbacks in the league, that team is a lot better right now. And they're playing a lot better, and they're going to be very dangerous.
We're getting the Russell Wilson from Seattle. This is not the Russell Wilson from Denver. This Russell Wilson can complete passes, read down his keys, run the ball. He's doing all this.
He was doing all that. He was doing all that last year in Denver, and they just weren't patient enough. They didn't have enough.
But again, it's chemistry, and this is the part I keep saying more than anything else. The first you got the ownerships, and I don't know what Denver's ownership looks like or how it functions, and then you got the actual head coach and the GM, and they got to be able to get along. And the GM can't overstep the coach, and the coach can't try to step the GM. They gotta have and it starts there. That's the chemistry, because it's one thing to get the talent in the door. It's another thing to make that talent work with your existing talent to build new talent. That's another challenge.
That's right.
And that's a good segue for us right now when you talk about getting talent in the door, because a lot of that talent has to come out of the college ranks. And so when you look at the world of college football right now, there's so much movement up and down because so many of these teams but we're getting closer and closer and closer to championship games and playoff time. And right now you look at a team like Oregon that was able to go and beat Michigan last week. When you look at top five in college ball ranking, talking about, or the real rankings come out in like 2 weeks, the first real ranking of the teams, and we're getting set up for this 12 team playoff. Man, I am so excited.
I'm really happy. I'm really happy for most of the teams that get looked over, like Boise State. They're not getting looked over right now. BYU, they're not getting looked over. You're undefeated. You're going to make it onto the boards to at least get a chance to compete. And I think that's the fairest thing that ever could be. It's challenging. You got 105 teams, and you got to be able to rate them, or 108, I think. But you got to be able to rate them. And unfortunately for everybody else, most of the nationally ranked teams come out of the SEC. But on the same note, now that you literally, the challenge in college football is going to be your schedule. If you don't put some competition on your schedule, you will not be in the playoffs. So now you got to put some, if you're Indiana, Indiana's doing fantastic. They're having the best years since 1940 something. Yeah. They're doing fantastic, but they got to put some weight on that schedule. Because if you don't put no weight on their schedule, it's like, we ain't looking at you. You're not even considering it. And then when you play a top-ranked team, you better win.
Yeah.
Don't get blown out.
And you talk about Indiana, they're sitting at number 8 right now and 9-0. You know what I mean? Like, who would have thought? That's a great position to be in right now.
That ain't no joke. Ain't no joke.
Yeah.
And you've got a couple of dates this week that I think need to be looked at. The first one is you got Georgia at Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, and Kirby Smart. It could be a blowout. It could be an upset. That's kind of how the SEC works itself out. The other one is this, and I'm one of these guys that I see Miami in the top 5. Okay. And I'm going to tell you something. There ain't nothing like Hurricane swagger. And I know that at least I got a couple Canes out there that are my boys, and they know exactly what I'm talking about. When they start feeling it, that dancing bug starts happening. Okay. And it's a multi-generational thing. Yeah, I mean, it's happened since since Schellenberger was the head coach on to Jimmy Johnson,
Yeah.
these guys they love that Coral Gables spirit, and as well as the fact that they love to show out, and they love that Miami Heat, and playing them late in the year. It's going to start like where I'm at. It's it's going to be 22 degrees out tonight.
Yeah.
It's still 78 degrees in Miami this evening. And so you're going to lose water, as well as the fact that I'm going to move on just for a second and say that you not only do you got Indiana, Michigan, that could be an upset. But here's the one game that I want to talk about a little bit, and that is Alabama is at LSU. And the reason I say take a look at that game is LSU is waiting. They know that they got a sick dog in Alabama that's lost 2 games already, and nothing would make them happier than to knock them out of that 12, that 12-team bowl. And now with Alabama sitting at number 11, you've got teams like SMU. SMU, by the way, 8-1. Okay, Boise State 7-1. That will leapfrog these guys, and probably Texas A&M and Ole Miss will too if they stand out. So the other one is, and haven't seen this in a long time, gentlemen. Army is still undefeated.
Really?
Army is still undefeated.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the only thing with that is that
their level of competition.
Yeah, they get in, but
Yeah.
right.
But if they get in and beat somebody, they're legit.
Yeah, like you said,
I live in the land of poker, and my old friend who was the voice of the Minnesota Vikings, Paul Allen, would say, "All we need is a chair, a chip, and a chance, and all you got to do is get to the game." And you know what? That ball isn't round; it's pointed. So, however that ball bounces, it begins to bounce. And late, like I said, it's late in the year. It could be a little cold, could be a little wet, could be a little snow.
Well, just
you
the
never
fact
know.
Just the fact they're bringing the old school wishbone downhill game.
Yeah.
Everybody ain't ready for that.
Nobody.
Everybody ain't ready for it. And if you
No.
bring it to them and you come at you go Ohio State taking that shit on, they might be like, "What do I do on this?" And it's gonna be like, if you don't know what to do first play, it's too late. Because
Yeah,
that will wear
when you
you
talk about the Ohio States and Georgias and those teams, man, the talent difference between them and Army is going to be so huge that even eventually it's just going to
always when you got to go against Wishbone, it's going to take you a half to adapt to Wishbone because it's all about the discipline of the edge because they run the triple option, and when they fake the dive. Right now, you got so many. The defensive ends right now are amazing athletes. They can play the quarterback and the pitch, so they can do both.
Yeah,
and that's the fascinating thing about them. But the problem is about the discipline. If they're able to stay in the game and keep doing it by the fourth quarter, I don't give a fuck if that's what's his name in Dallas. He gonna get tired of playing quarterback and the pitch. And all they're waiting for is you to make the mistake. That's all they're waiting
for. One mistake. That's
and
right.
once you make the mistake, boom, 50-yard game.
The secret of the wishbone, the secret of the wing tee is to put the 2 middle linebackers in conflict where one of them takes the A gap and the other one takes the A gap. And guess what? They're running up B gap. And those are the things that happen, like Steve was saying, with the dive. And then you've got the 2 wings. And those wings, however they're set up, they could be in a full house backfield or they could be off the tight end. When those guys put you in conflict at the fullback position, it opens up the entire game. And and do you see it ever? No, we don't see it. We see it on goal line a little bit.
You see it on film. You see it in archives. You
see it in archives.
You don't see it on game day.
I love it.
I was in high school. and we played Nebraska 4 fucking years, I could promise you all
Come
they're
on.
waiting for is that one mistake, and then that one mistake happens, and then boom, 50-yard touch, 50-yard
That's right.
big game, and then they throw the ball because they ain't thrown the ball all game, and the corner's coming up, and he's like faked out, and then there's another touchdown right there, and just like that, you behind 28-21, and they got the ball with 4 minutes, and that offense wears the clock out.
And that clock goes fast.
Yes. It sucks all the oxygen out of the goddamn clock, and you like, well, if we could get the ball back, yeah, get it from them.
Try to
Good luck.
Good luck with that. Well, I tell you what, good luck on all of that for college football right now. I love it. I love the idea of this 12-game playoff, so we're going to see what happens with that. I also, because we are who we are, we got to hit this NIL and talk a little bit about what's going on and what kind of things that we can continue to let these families and these players know so they can, take advantage, because I love the NIL. What can they do to make sure they take full advantage of the NIL, and who's out there doing it right now,
Right.
Well, I think the main go ahead.
I was just going to say that the because of its newness, you have all of these self-proclaimed gurus out here talking about NIL and how they have somehow the secret elixir onto how the NIL is supposed to work. The reality is this: everybody has an idea about what NIL is, except for the fact that, nobody is talking to the pros who've been dealing with the NIL since the 1920s, okay? Since Bert Bell was the commissioner of the NFL, where guys began to get paid for sport, and especially for football. The fact is this: if you are going to start paying players, that is everybody across the board, and trust me, if you're not paying everybody across the board, you're going to have conflict in the locker room, okay? It's just, you're going to have stuff end up missing in the locker room. We'll just say it like that. But the reality is this, that when you have guys getting paid, there is going to have to be structure, and there's going to have to be a tiering system for how they get paid. There's going to have to be an educational piece, which is where a lot of these self-proclaimed gurus come out and they start talking about the fact that, hey, I've got the next greatest, information about NIL. In reality, all what you're doing is you're hiring an agent, and you're hiring that agent to make sure that your books look good and that your taxes are being paid and that what you're worth is being traded fairly or equitably in the system, so that you're not being cut short of what your value is with other teams. How does that work? That works through collective bargaining and unionization. And this is where these kids are going to have to start looking at themselves, not just as, my name is so-and-so, fullback for for Army. They're going to have to say, my name is so-and-so, I am a business institution, an LLC, and I need to do what's in my best interest as a owner of a company, because now I am a company. And yes, it's one of the things that so many people, that they fall in love with, the pristineness and sometimes the self-awareness of the fact that you're doing it for the love of the game. Well, listen, those days are over. As soon as they started paying players, those days went out like a spirit is flown at a funeral. They're gone, if they ever lived. And the reality now is that you have to do what's in your best interest. Otherwise, you end up like Ricky Williams, who made that deal with Ditka and the Saints and never got paid for the first 2 years that he played for New Orleans. And everybody's like, man, he needed an agent, or that was the stupidest thing he's ever done. Well, he was playing for the love of the game. And he said, I want to actually earn my paycheck. Listen, that nothing could be more, it was a nice thought, but in reality and on the books, it made him look ignorant, okay, and naive.
It was romance, and the thing is what the colleges have always sold you on is give it up for the Gipper, Duke Rock. Go in there, you just go in there and get it to him, Tiger. That's what they sell you on.
That's right. That's right.
That shit is gone. When you realize, and you know, I've had people tell me that it's really cold what you talk about. I said, but the business is cold. It's not me. I didn't make the business. I just adapted to it. And that's what I try to tell parents and kids is like, you have to be, like you said, a business, and you have to look at it in the cold, hard facts. What are you providing? That unique skill set is very unique, but there are thousands of people contributing that skill set to the university. Now, the university must assess you based on the value they perceive they're going to get from you. There is no absolutes. There's no perfection. It is what it is. You know, hey, this is what I got. This is the talent I got. So just be a professional. So number one, operate and conduct yourself as a professional in that I know my skills. I know my talent. That means have your film edited, ready to go, show your highlights. You don't have to show your lowlights. You could if you want to, but depends upon how good you are, how much you're going to show folks. They're going to find your bad stuff, especially once they want you. But
that's right.
Do edit your film. Know how to cut and edit your film. You're going to have to learn this because you got to market yourself. And you're talking about 4 1-year deals, possibly 5 if you redshirt. So if you're looking at 1-year deals, you need to be able to cut and edit your film from practice and games and have them on your film. And when you get with us, we'll have the all built into the website. So you'll separate your games from your practice film and you'll be able to showcase yourself in the light you want to showcase yourself into.
Tell them where to go, Steve, before we get out of here.
Oh, okay. So that's all. What'd you say?
I said, tell them where to go.
www.simpleplace.net.
Yes, sir.
With a Z.
Yes, with a
Plays
Z.
with a Z.
Once again, you guys have been inside the Locker Room Show. A great opportunity to hear what happens in these NFL locker rooms, these college locker rooms. Hell, I'll talk about a high school locker room if you want. But you know, a great discussion. I appreciate everybody. Steve, what's your last word for tonight, buddy?
Hey, we got another week of exciting football coming up. So let's keep our eyes glued to this channel because it's some worthwhile action going on.
Absolutely. Rev, take us out as always.
Hey, I think what we're going to have and what we're seeing now is the separation. We call it the Great Divider. And that Great Divider is what it is. Hey, have a great week, guys.
Vas tu momento para enamorarte, no quiero presionarte, es que me la debes. No me gusta verte solo cuando puedes. Hay veces es el tiempo que interviene y casi siempre quieres y no te conviene. Yo quiero tu amor, le pido a la luna que me ayude toda la noche. Quiero
right at an hour. Good job, guys.